So right now it is October of 2025. Nobody should be manually programming softjaws, and in this video I'm going to show you how I avoid that in my workflow. I have two different processes. This is the first one. This is the manual process that I use on super simple softjaws. And I'm just going to throw some quick geometry on here. We'll do a circle and maybe another circle. And I'm going to extrude this down like a 1/2 inch. There we go. And there's the soft jaw design that we're going to make here. Now let's take a second to look at this setup. So the gray bits are my actual soft jaws. Mine do have a slight corner radius on them, but my soft jaws look more or less like this. The red in the middle here is my spacer. I traditionally space soft jaws at a 1/8 inch spacing, and I use a little sacrificial aluminum shim to obtain that spacing. However, if I open up my parametric menu here, I can go, a 1/16 of an inch, and it will automatically adjust. We'll go back to 0.125. And then these red things here are just plugs that are filling a screw hole in the jaws that I use. So if I get rid of these fillers, there we go. That's what the setup will look like on the actual machine. I use a small self-centering vise 99% of the time, and this is just what my jaws look like. So these are the parts we need to make. Let's go into the manufacturing environment, and I already have a setup here that has a bunch of toolpaths in it. All I'm going to do is hit generate, and there are 3 different adaptive toolpaths and then 3 different flat toolpaths. Each one of these uses a progressively smaller tool. So you'll notice here, in this case, this first adaptive is able to rough out all the material it wants to rough out with this 3/16 inch end mill. And because rest machining is turned on with these other 2 tool paths, nothing generates there, so we can just delete those out. And then if we go to our flats here, we have our first flat tool path, which is, actually pretty good. And notice it does have a finishing pass on these walls. And then as we get to these last 2 tool paths, the rest machining is doing dumb things, so we can just hit delete. And that's simple. We have our soft jaws here ready to go. I can hit post and, send it to my machine and run these. It takes just a couple minutes as long as your features, as long as your soft jaws are simple 2-dimensional shapes. If they had any 3D to them, then you'd have to either manually add some tool paths or do something else. But for simple soft jaws, this is really quick and simple. Let's go back to kind of our original version here, and I'll show you how I have this set up. I just undid everything. So first of all, I have a sketch here labeled WCS and a point right there in the center. It doesn't matter where you put your WCS as long as it's consistent for your programming between your soft jaw cutting and your part. So because I'm using self-centering vices on a 0-point system, I just always stick it smack dab in the center. And I have this sketch here with a point so that I can always reference that. There's nothing special about my model of the jaws, except that I have these little fillers to keep adaptive toolpaths from doing dumb things that I don't want them to do. For example, I don't want them to try to machine down these screw holes because there's a screw at the bottom of the screw hole and I don't want to machine that away. I also have my stock modeled here, and this stock is basically wrapped exactly around the soft jaws. You can see kind of this funny texture, that Z fighting there. That's because those edges of my stock material and my soft jaw body, they're just exactly lined up, so you get this weird, funny triangulation stuff. But the stock is just exactly the same size as the jaws. Again, this is to help contain tool paths because you don't want them coming out here around the edges. You want them to just be in the center. Back over in the manufacturing environment, first of all, in my setup, I have my work coordinate system set to be that point right there. In my orientation, I have my Z-axis by just the top face of the jaw there, but my Y-axis is actually determined by this sketch line right there. And that is because this sketch should never change if you modify the jaws, whereas if you put it like out here or something, when you go to do your jaw geometry, that sketch might move and screw up your work coordinate system. So by doing it on this WCS sketch, it'll never change, and that is always good. For my model, I just have everything here selected. If you look at kind of my hierarchy, I have a JAWS component and a stock component. And then inside JAWS, I have all of these other little components. But I just have it targeted at the top level JAWS. And then nothing selected for fixture, but for stock, I'm doing from solid and then choosing my stock component, of course. So inside these first three adaptives, there's not too much special going on here. I do, of course, already have my speeds and feeds from the standard subtract library, which came from pre-tool. And they're all there ready to go, and the correct one is already chosen. And other than that, I just made sure to have rest machining on, and this toolpath just kind of works. It won't work right now because there's no geometry right here. And then I duplicated that 3 different times for my 3 different tools. And actually, we can do a stop and fix right now. We can call that 1/4 inch and make this one 3/16. If you run bigger stuff than me, you may, of course, want to change this to, your size of tools in our 1/8 inch adaptive. And then on the flat tool paths over here, again, I have the correct speeds and feeds chosen. The big thing is the heights tab, where I have the top height being 1 thou below selection, and in this case, selection is this top face. That way, when I generate this toolpath, it's not going to try to face off the whole top surface here. We don't want that. That's already been machined with our soft jaws. We just want it to get whatever pocket that we want to machine. And rest machining needs to be turned on. That is not on by default with the flat toolpath, so you do have to go check that box. And then I also give it a radial stock to leave of -5 thou, just to make sure that there's always room for the part in case your op1 comes out a little bit oversized or whatever. This just gives it, the ability to fit in there without sacrificing too much accuracy. I do also have finishing passes turned on with a step over of 5 thou, and that's just so flat also finishes the side wall of pockets. And that is pretty much it. I guess we can do our stop and fix here again. And this is a 1/4 inch, 3/16, and 1/8 inch. I definitely get more self-conscious when I'm recording this stuff for YouTube. And that right there is our template that we can use for anything. The way I would traditionally use this is I would just come over here and drag and drop in a model, nest it to wherever it needs to be, and then design my soft jaw pocket from there, and then just regenerate these toolpaths. And that works really well. It's really fast. But sometimes you want soft jaws that are a little bit more complicated than 2 toolpaths. And that is where this next version comes into play. It's almost exactly the same process, but we have a little bit of a helping hand in the form of Toolpath. So my model here is much more simplified. I still have my WCS sketch. Wow, lots of stop and fixes today. And that right there is my WCS. This is just one solid body. I don't have stock or anything in here. It's just a brick. So let's go ahead and build some quick geometry for it to cut here. Do a circle. I don't know, with a rectangle coming off of it. And extrude those down. This time we want to give it some geometry that our last template wouldn't be able to get. So let's do, I don't know, like a big fillet. Yeah, a big fillet and a chamfer. And maybe blend those a little bit so it doesn't freak out about the sharp corners. Okay. And for fun, let's put another feature in here. Extrude that out. Give it a fillet. So my other method couldn't handle this very well at all because it only does 2D geometry. This has 3D geometry. So now with this designed, all I'm going to do is hit the Send Part to Toolpath button. I'm going to hit OK. It's going to upload it to Toolpath. It'll open Toolpath in a browser for me, and Toolpath will take just a second to process it. There we go. And looking at this model, it's still doing some calculations behind the scenes, but we can see our model here. We can turn on the infamous banana so we can see how big our part is. We want to make sure we check over here where it says cut config to make sure it's set to the correct one. These soft jaws are, of course, aluminum, so non-ferrous works. I can see a world where you would want a dedicated soft jaw cut config, but I haven't set that up, and I don't know, I haven't felt the need to yet. It's still generating, but we can go to the second tab here, and you can see everything it wants to machine where. So in our first operation, which is our only operation in this case, it's going to do that wall. It's going to do those contours. It's going to do that little itty bitty face. It's going to do that big face, the pocket, the outer contour, the profile. It'll give us the list of tools that it wants to use. And now that it's done generating, I can hit this Export to Fusion button, come over to Fusion, and hit Import into Current Document, where it'll put all of those toolpaths for us. So it gives us a roughing toolpath. Now it does give us this facing toolpath, which in this case we don't need because these soft jaws are already machined, and toolpath just doesn't understand the context yet. So I'm just gonna hit delete on that. I'll hit delete on this outside profile and then regenerate the toolpath that it wants to update. But let's see, it looks like that's roughing out that. That's finishing that wall. That's finishing that little fillet. Now we're finishing that bigger fillet. I'm not 100% sure what this toolpath is trying to do. Maybe finish the floor of this pocket, but it missed a little bit. Let's delete that out. And there, it looks like it's machining some more of the floor there. This toolpath's a little bit funky. It looks like it's trying to clean up both the floor and some of these fillets here. But if we simulate the whole thing, we can see that Toolpath did a pretty good job of making these soft jaws. Maybe there's a more efficient way if you coded it manually, but really you'd be spending 20 minutes to save 2 minutes of cycle time. And I think Toolpath certainly did a good enough job, even if it's not, perfect. And there we have it, finished soft jaws. No manual cam except deleting a couple operations. I should probably add at this point, I am not sponsored by Toolpath. I am a paying customer of their product. That being said, I am friends with people at Toolpath and am generally friendly with their company as a whole. I am also a Toolpath affiliate, so if you click on the link down below, I do get a kickback for that. But Toolpath had no influence in this video at all. They did not get to see it before I posted it. They did not ask me to make this video. I'm doing it because it is an actual part of my workflow. Toolpath did come out and do a shop tour a couple of weeks ago. If you want to see that, it's on their channel. I'll have it linked below. Again, they're not paying me, but I am friendly with them. And if you need parts made via my handy dandy soft jaw method, check out subtractmanufacturing.com. Subtract Manufacturing is a collective of small machine shops that are working together to accomplish more than any one shop can accomplish on their own. So if you submit a part that is, small and lots of little micro machining, then I will take it. If you submit a part that is big, that is not my core competency, and somebody else in the network who's good at that kind of work will take it instead. Subtractmanufacturing.com. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.